No, the last couple of meetings we've just been sound, right? No picture. Yep. Probably because
Hello.
they called in.
Yes, that sounds.
That's Georgia.
Is that Georgia?
That's Georgia. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Georgia.
Hi.
Georgia.
Hi there. Sorry not to be there. I've been to St. Louis to visit my grandchildren, and the Lord gave those kids to young parents for a good reason, I'll tell you. It's just...
So we were talking about grandmas before you got online. Are you the nice grandma or the crazy grandma?
Oh, I'm a crazy grandma. Who would want to be the nice grandma? No, I love, I'm pretty crazy. Yeah. It's just a lot of fun.
But you're still young enough to have fun with them then.
Well, yeah, but I'm not really very young. I told my children, I needed grandchildren sooner because my good grandma years were getting away from me, my best ones, and so I'm just trying really hard to be having some fun with them. They are sure sweet.
I said earlier,
Scotty, go ahead.
Pardon me?
My grandchildren days are done.
Yeah.
I'm busy building children.
Yeah. Yeah. Scotty, it looks like you had a great vacation.
It was wonderful.
Oh, isn't that?
It never got 75, 77 degrees the whole time.
Did you hear that?
Till the last day, and then got to 90.
Yeah. Well, it just does something for the soul to see all that beauty, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Having grown up in Independence, I was always aware of the beginning of the Oregon Trail, but I never really thought about the end of it. So we got to see the end of the Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah, we Independence people got that beginning part really well, didn't we?
I guess I'm going to have to go see. Do you know, is there a museum for the beginning?
I don't know of one. I sure don't.
Yeah. Well, you know how it is. You never take a look at the tourist attractions in your own town. So.
No, well, that's true. That's true. Yeah. I was interested in go back to the Truman Library after they did the renovation. I kind of need to do that. But yeah, it was a good place to grow up.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Judy, can you give us a roll call vote, please?
Ron McMullen?
Here.
Judy Walter? Here. Carlin Dillon? Here. Patty Long?
Here.
Judy Tyler here. Sandy Henke? Here. Georgia Jarman?
Here.
Scotty Walker?
Yes, here.
I forgot about you.
Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome, Patty.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Can we have any public comments? I don't know, who's Shelley?
That's me.
Okay.
Welcome, Ranch. We're small but mighty. We've been having a really great summer. I feel like this has been the busiest we've been since COVID. We've had over 224 people in our programs this summer, and we've signed up about 16 new cars this summer too. So we've been really busy. Does anybody have any questions for me?
It looks a lot. I forget. Was it this? It's been a while since we've been up here. So is it? Yeah. Does it look the same? Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it was.
We had it before I got here, Judy. I don't know if you were.
I don't remember.
Seems like it was a transition last time we were out.
I think it was. Yeah, it was when Gina was,
Yeah, they painted, I know,
library
in the
director.
carpet and
yeah.
tiles and all that, so,
I just don't remember the year.
yeah.
Okay.
Probably
thank
about
you.
5 years ago.
Yeah. Any other public comments?
I have an email here from, Krista Bell is her name. She was one of the board applicants. And so she listened to the board meeting. So she just wanted, to inform the board of these. So I'm just going to read her email here. She said, I would just like to state that as I put in my application, I do utilize the Trails Regional Library daily. I read ebooks from Trails in between weekly visits to either the Corder or Lexington branch. My family all lives in Corder, and this is also the branch I grew up utilizing. We also own land in Corder where we pay taxes. I think it is important that the board realizes that many people outside of city limits utilize the library. Corder is the same school district as Higginsville, and this is also where I personally help all students at the school I work wanting to read ebooks or audiobooks sign up to check them out. Resources at the Robertson Memorial Library in Higginsville are severely limited, and no digital resources are available at all. We typically only visit it a few times a year due to this issue. Best regards, Krista Bell. And she was the one that had the Higginsville address. So
Yeah,
I
we
told
had
her
a question if she lived in town or if she lived.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And she just wanted you to know that she may live in Higginsville, but they own property in Corder and they pay taxes on that, so.
That's what we're asking.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to reach out to Higginsville to see?
Not yet, I have
Okay.
not.
I mean, I know they've turned us down many,
The
many
joint
times,
trails.
yeah, but,
Maybe things are getting bad for them and they,
I would encourage you to reach out to them.
I'm thinking I heard one time that when the benefactor, when they set up the library, that he did not wish for them to belong to Trails, and as long as he was providing support, they should never join them. That just might be complete conjecture and gossip. I don't.
Well, and I know Shelley may be able to shed some
I
light.
can speak to that a little bit just because I talked to, the library is a regular patron of ours. And, Tina Myrick is the everything at that library. So I just flat out asked her because I'd heard the same thing. And actually it was a woman that was the benefactor.
Okay.
And where the library is in Higginsville, I guess was where her home was. And so I asked her that because I heard the same thing, and she said, no, that's not true at all. I can't remember exactly what she said, but basically it's just the town honoring her and keeping it. She wanted a Higginsville library, not that she didn't ever want, because I had heard she said hated Trails and didn't want anything to do with it, and that was not it at all. She just wanted a library in Higginsville, their own library.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what she thought.
And maybe if we reached out to them again,
They could.
They might
they
have
could call
changed.
the library by her name.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's,
They could still be a branch and have.
Holden was the last, Holden and Higginsville were the holdouts for joining Trails. And you can let them know that we're happy. I mean, we're not going to take away their library. That was always the big hang up with Holden was, Warrensburg going to take away our library. And so.
I will say that the majority of our patrons are from Higginsville. We get a ton of Higginsville people who come.
I knew we did.
So I don't know who branch managers have talked to, directors have talked to in the past, but
I know the last two.
that should be, well, I know Susan Bonnet and Karen never had any luck, but maybe it ought not be the city council that is making the decision. Maybe it ought to be put up to the public. What does the public want?
It wouldn't hurt to
Yeah.
approach them again and see where, what their thoughts are on it. So.
If you ever want to have a meeting, you and I, with the city council, I guess Higginsville has a city council, whatever they have,
Something. Yeah.
I'd be glad to go with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, maybe we should keep her application if she's still willing on file.
I asked her if she wanted me to, and, she said, yes, she would like that. So if there's ever, another opening, I would just contact her and see if she was still interested. If she was, I would just present her application again.
That's
And
great.
I will point out that in 2 years,
Yeah.
Oh, 2 years, that's a ways off.
I never know.
That should be by a year.
I know you do.
Okay, any other public comments? All right. Consent agenda items, is there any discussion on that? If not, I would take a motion to approve unless there's discussion.
I did want to point out Judy Walter, found something in the check register. It was, a check written out to, one of the staff for reimbursement. I'm pretty sure it was program supplies, but it was coded as utility. So I will make sure that that gets corrected.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
So a motion by Ron, a second by Judy Walter. Judy, can I have a roll call vote?
Ron McMullen?
Yes.
Judy Walter?
Yes.
Harlan Dillon?
Yes.
Patty Long?
Yes.
Sandy Hanky?
Yes.
Georgia Jarman?
Yes.
Judy Tyler is yes, and Scotty Walker.
I just have something to say. Did we get minutes?
Yes. They came yesterday.
They came with
Yeah,
the check
that came.
Okay, I didn't look at that. I just saw check register. Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we,
Are you approving
Yes,
or
I am.
not?
yeah. But if we didn't have the minutes, I want to make sure that we knew we weren't approving the minutes. All right. Any unfinished business? All right. Appointments to the library board,
Foundation.
foundation, yes, that too. We got, 3 that want to stay on and 1 that does not.
Correct.
I move that we accept the reappointment of Barbara Erickson, Peggy Gilman, and Karen Johnson to the Foundation Board.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Georgia and a second by Judy Walter to reappoint Barbara Erickson, Peggy Gilmore, and Karen Johnson. Any discussion? Judy, can I get a roll call vote?
Ron McMullen?
Yes.
Judy Walter?
Yes.
Harlan Dillon?
Yes.
Patty Long?
Yes.
Sandy Hanky?
Yes.
Georgia Jarman?
Yes.
Judy Tyler, yes, and Scotty Walker.
Yes. And that leaves us a vacancy or an opening for Karen or Kim Ropey
Yes, correct.
from Lafayette County that we will need to find a replacement for.
Where does the foundation board meet?
That's what I did.
At
Warrensburg.
Warrensburg.
Would this other person that we turned down for the
For the library. board,
library board trustee be interested in the foundation?
I could reach out and ask her if she would be interested, sure.
Well,
We had,
I have a name that I could submit for that person from Concordia. Brent Cooper, he's just retired as superintendent of schools. He would be an excellent person for that if you would, if I could contact him and have him call you. Is there an
That would be
application?
fine. The applications are on the website.
Okay. I'll get one to
Can't find
him.
it. If you can't find it, let me know and I can send it to you in an email as well.
Okay.
I was gonna say, we also had another application to be on the board
I can't
from
remember the name.
Lafayette too. They may.
I can reach out to both and see if they're interested.
Okay, next up is the approval of the policy F306.
So this is the policy on evaluations, and essentially what we wanted to do was strip out the evaluation form, which is technically a procedure, not part of policy. And then really the only change was stripping that out, and then it would basically be, the form would be approved by the director versus the board. So that was really the only changes there.
I make a motion, we approve that.
We have a motion by Judy Walter. Is there a second? Motion to
I'll
approve.
second it.
Second by
Sandy.
Sandy Hanky. Judy, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Ron McMullen,
Yes.
Judy Walter,
Yes.
Carlin Dillon,
Yes.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Sandy Henke,
Yes.
Georgia Jarman,
Yes.
Judy Tyler, yes, Scotty Walker.
Yes. All right, thank you. Next up is the approval or considering approval of the 23 salary scale.
So this is the same scale that, I presented last month for your review. And I can kind of go, do you want me to go over kind of what was changed from last year? Or is everybody comfortable? You just tell me what you need from me.
I'm good. I thought you explained it very well last time.
And I
What I
tried to-
could remember-
I tried to put it in the written description too, but
Yeah,
I know Patty's new. I know we went over it
Yeah,
yesterday,
yeah.
so.
It was pretty clear. I thought you explained it clearly.
So do new hires always start in the minimum?
It depends. Depends on how many years of experience, things like that. Like if they had, 10 years of experience, we're probably not gonna start them at the minimum. But typically, I would say the majority of our positions probably start at the minimum in their track.
and if I remember correctly, because of the way it was changed, it wasn't going to raise it that much.
It's a 12% increase is what it equates to. And then all of the tracks were extended out. We had 6 steps is kind of how it was set up before. I extended it out to 12 steps, but we got rid of the steps. And instead of 4% between them, I did 2.5. And so it just extended it out where people have a little more room to grow, because the way it was, they could essentially be COLA'd or at the maximum within 6 years,
Right,
which is way too
which
short.
we were gonna have to raise anyway, because minimum wage is.
Absolutely. And hopefully with this, gets us up to our lowest, our lowest paid track B. The minimum would be 1323, which of course hopefully will help us be a little more competitive than at the 1181 that it was previously.
That's important. I move that we approve these changes to the fiscal year 23 salary scale.
All right, we have a motion to approve the salary scale. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Carmen seconds. Is there any other discussion? Judy, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Ron McMullen,
Yes.
Judy Walter,
Yes.
Carlin Dillon,
Yes.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Sandy Henke,
Yes.
Georgia Jarman,
Yes.
from T, and I need to get you an actual,
Hello?
Hello?
Judy Tyler, yes, Scotty Walker.
Yes. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. I think that'll go a long way, not only with our current employees, but also for recruitment and retention.
Item D, approval, consider establishing a vehicle replacement fund.
So, this was already included in the preliminary budget that was approved in June. Yeah, I'm sure I remember my months correctly. So it was already approved in that, but I just want to make sure that it's in the minutes that that you're good with me establishing that vehicle replacement fund.
I think it's a very smart idea.
And
We
the
could do
past,
that just like we do the other big purchases.
Exactly. Yeah, that was my
So
thought.
how much are we gonna,
It will depend each year, like how much, if we want to shoot for a certain amount every year, or if it's just kind of what we can afford to put in there, but hopefully by the time we need a new vehicle, all the money.
this is to replace it, not to fix it. We have another fund to fix it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's in our operating budget under vehicle operations. Mhm.
Mhm. I think this is a great idea, even if when we need to replace, we don't have quite all of the money, at least we have some seed money. I think it's a great idea, and I would move that we approve it.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Georgia. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Judy Tyler. Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Judy, please.
Ron McMullen,
Yes.
Judy Walter,
Yes.
Harlan Dillon,
Yes.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Sandy Henke,
Yes.
Georgia Jarman,
Yes.
Judy Tyler, and Scotty Walker.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Approval of the technology disposal list and the recommended disposal methods. Yeah,
That was all in your packet, in your packet as far as the table there on the item description, the quantity, so the number of those items that we have, the condition, why we're recommending disposal, and then the recommended disposal method. So I can answer any questions that you might have, or
Is that for just this year?
this is for this year, what we are disposing of right now.
A lot of computers.
Most of these were from that computer replacement project that we had the grant for. That's where most of these came from. Probably all of them.
10, 12 years old, I'm surprised it's still working.
Yeah.
And we save all the keyboards. And,
Yeah, the peripherals,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Mhm. Unless they're just
yeah.
not working or something like that.
I'd be glad to accept a motion to approve this.
I'll make a motion to approve this disposal list for the IT department. With a bunch of stuff that we don't have the use for.
I'll second.
Motion by Judy Walter, a second by Carlin Dillon. Judy, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Ron McMullen,
Yes.
Judy Walter,
Yes.
Harlan Dillon,
Yes.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Sandy Henke,
Yes.
Georgia Jarman,
Yes.
Judy Tyler, yes, Scotty Walker.
Yes. All right.
Approved unanimously.
Motion
Well,
carries.
not unanimously. 8-0. We got the score in here.
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Audit engagement letter.
So this is just standard, it just establishes the legal relationship between the auditing firm and the organization or the client, and it outlines the scope of the work and then, the fees.
Pretty much standard as far as I can see.
And, it's the same rate as last year, it's the same firm as last year.
20 years.
Yeah. Well, I only had experience from last year,
Okay.
so.
You said this audit, they have audited before, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think Judy Walter said about 20 years, they,
Okay, so.
as last year, they didn't raise their fees.
Let's go from their house.
I move that
I
we
make a-
accept this engagement letter for 21 years, or for one more year.
Don't quote me on that.
All right, we have a motion by Georgia,
I'll second it.
second by Judy Walter. Roll call vote.
Ron McMullen, Judy Walter,
Yes.
Harlan Dillon,
Yes.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Sandy Henke,
Yes.
Richard Jarman,
Yes.
Susie Tyler, yes. Scotty Walker.
All right. The strategic plan.
So this is, the final product from a whole year of work for me. I think it was even started prior to me, so, at least a couple years worth of work, but all year for us. And I presented a draft, I can't remember what month that was, May, maybe, May or June. But anyway, here's the final product, so I can, questions you might have. We did add a little bit more detail than the one that we presented last time. One thing to just kind of remember the first year, maybe even 2 years, is more assessment to determine exactly what's needed, especially facilities wise, and put plans in place. So if there's anything that's specific in there, if it's deemed it's not needed or it's not a higher priority, then that would be pushed back.
So this is not set in
It's
stone.
fluid.
This is what we would like to do, accomplish, but
Yes.
it doesn't mean it's a have to do or die.
Correct. It's a fluid document, so you should be reviewing this every year and making any changes, as needed.
Okay.
And I don't think we've ever done that. I don't think we've ever gone back and looked at previous, plans and say, okay, this is what we
Where we're
accomplished, and
at.
this is where we fell short.
You get that?
And that's,
I'm here.
Well, could we see that this, I like charts. I don't like pictures, but I like charts. They have all the branches in that first one
Yeah.
there. However, Knob Noster's not on there, so I guess we can.
I had several questions, Judy.
You're talking about the growth phase.
Right.
They're included with that.
Well, they're included over here,
Yeah.
but,
It just wasn't listed, I think, on the,
so I would know
The
that whole
picture.
chart between Concordia and Warrensburg was Knob Noster or what, but.
Yeah.
Because we do fill in, we know that we all overlap.
that definitely falls, Knob Noster falls under the growth category for sure.
Well,
It's in that dark area that just says Warrensburg.
I have several questions.
Well, there's a lot of it, but that was my first one. That was a visual one.
Okay, do you want to go on?
No, go ahead.
I saw that there was a mention of remodeling the Warrensburg branch. And so I was just curious what we were gonna try to remodel.
Well, we don't know yet. We would have to do the assessment to see what's needed. For one, sight lines need to be improved for sure. The seating area, so it may not even be a full remodel. It may just be rearranging. So we'll have to do that assessment piece to determine exactly what is needed as far as a remodel, or if a remodel is even needed.
Well, yeah, because I know all the problems we're having in Warrensburg. I've often thought you come in the door and their line of sight does not cover that much.
Even their line of sight, even as close as they are to outside, their line of sight to see the parking lot is horrible.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
But
It is awful.
to see what's going on in the library,
Anywhere.
they have very, very limited.
Yes.
I know when the Holden, when they moved their
Circulation
their
desk.
circulation desk, when they moved it back, I thought it really improved their line of sight of what they could see and
Yes.
how close.
Yep. So we'll just basically, like I said, the first year or two, however long it takes us to get through that assessment period, then, as I said, this document is fluid, so we would adjust and it would be more specific. So if it was determined that was needed, it would be drilled down a little more specific for the next year. Yep.
And I think that's true with a lot of this, is stuff that will overlap into one. I mean, just because you accomplish that doesn't mean you can't accomplish the next step,
Correct.
which just comes up
You
in the
are
future.
correct. Yeah. And we may be able to, due to grants or something like that, we may be able to achieve something a little earlier than what we had put. Maybe year 5 and we get to accomplish it in year 2 because we have an opportunity or something. And then of course that would change things around as far as priorities too.
And then the Concordia pavement cost, I know we had went over that before, and at first it was very cheap, but then it got high, and I just was worried about the cost. It's really not that big an area.
Well, and I have since talked to the branch manager. It's not just the back parking lot, it's that side drive as well that is needing some attention. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't just be that, it would be all of that.
But, you know, being here, I've noticed it seems like I see other people using that drive sometimes that really aren't library people. Does that make sense?
I thought it was more city than, that drive was city more than the libraries, but I didn't know.
Because, you know, they come through that alley and come out and get onto Main Street sometimes. I mean, and they're not going to the library, they're using that as a little drive-through area.
And again, that
make
would be
sense?
part of,
Right, it's gonna have to be submit to the board.
absolutely, okay, absolutely.
And
For
then,
Concordia, the biggest thing is that window that's leaking.
yeah,
that
well,
needs-
that wall, when we supposed to
The
have that
whole
wall?
wall, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, this, I would go along with that and put some signage up too, that it's library, thoroughfare, not public.
I don't.
Georgia asked who owns it, the library or?
I believe the library, but there again, I would have to look further into that to be exactly sure.
Yeah.
I can go to City Hall and ask. If you
It's
need,
not a park,
Mayor Brown, so the mayor can
And Sandy said she could go and ask at City Hall for sure.
I mean,
so we would
it's
know.
not something we're gonna do real quickly, but I mean,
No,
it's still,
well, no, but you know, I'm just saying that the people don't need to be using it for a little shortcut.
I agree.
I'll go and ask.
we should put a.
How are you gonna stop that though? How can you stop
I don't know.
You
Not
can't.
Put a policeman there or
Put those
something? I
things
mean,
where your
you're not
tires
gonna
pop.
put up as many signs as you want, and
Well,
it's what?
close to the police department, police.
Okay.
Patrol it.
Good thought.
Well, then if they keep driving up and down, it'd be the same difference.
Yeah, my next thing was, Holden's only concern is the office.
and I thought we had that decided.
And it wasn't their only concern. Again, that was just one thing that we did identify. We'll have to do the assessment piece. And we're looking at options. So it may not be that we build an office. It could be that it's just cubicle walls or something. So we'll look at what options are out there to meet the needs. is
I
kind of
just
what
thought
we're
it was,
looking
I just thought it was odd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought it was odd that that was the only thing listed for Holden was an office.
A lot of stuff was lumped together if it was multiple branches that had similar issues or similar things to look at, like the collection. We'll be looking to assess whether they need more shelving, you know, things like that. So some of them are lumped together that required either most of the branches or all of them. So,
And then this is my last question.
are you sure?
That's all I got on my list. I'm concerned about outsourcing human resources.
And again, we're just looking at options to whether it would be feasible or not. And if it's not, or the board doesn't want us to do that.
Because to me, human resources should be on site, available to employees.
I agree.
And if you outsource it, then
I agree.
how do you,
And how do you control it?
yeah, to me, human resources has always been an in-house thing.
It can be done. It is difficult. And it comes with, you know, pros and cons, of course. You could also outsource portions of it, not necessarily the whole thing. So as far as having someone there available for staff, that piece could stay in-house. Maybe it's the paperwork, the benefits, things like that, that would be outsourced. So there again, just looking at what options are out there.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And that was all of my questions. Strategic plan.
Anybody else?
I emailed you several questions. Well, you don't have to read them, but I don't remember. I mean, I'll go from memory.
Okay.
So in this one, you want to increase number of cardholders by 10% in Warrensburg, Concordia, and Waverly. Why those?
So those branches specifically listed that as one of their goals. That is something that if the board wants to increase by 10% on all of our branches, we could certainly make that change, approve it with that change being made. That's an option as well. But those were 3 of the branches that specifically wanted to work towards that goal.
Okay, so I didn't know that was a branch.
Yep.
Okay.
We got their input on goals that they wanted to achieve in the next 5 years and put it all together.
So back to the office.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a hang up with me. So, at one time, I think it was your predecessor, I can't remember her name now.
Tanya.
She wanted to put a public meeting room in there. It's like, well, okay, so we build an office and we build a public meeting room. Pretty soon there's no room for books. And, so my concern is prior to Holden joining Trails, but after we had raised the money to build the building, we got this bequest of about $80,000 from a deceased person from his will. And in my mind, that money was always for the big thing, not patching glass, broken glass, not this, that, and the other, not building an office. Because when I built that library, I mean, I was basically the guy who was there to answer all the questions. Susan Bonnet never said, well, you need to build an office. I mean, every time I had a question, I'd ask her, and she never once said, you need to build an office. There is a little office area back through the back door, and some people say, well, that's the back room. Yeah, there's a back room back there, but it's also a little office area. So at one point we'd gotten a bid for, I don't know, do you remember how much that was, Carlin? Some ridiculous number to build 2 walls.
It was something like $12,000, $15,000.
I thought it was more than that, but it was.
And they weren't going to pay prevailing wage because they had this thing about, because if it was under a certain amount, they didn't have to pay prevailing wage.
That's right.
Well,
Yes, you
do.
well, okay, that was my
I've
question.
been through that.
It's a public entity. You're supposed to have to pay prevailing wage,
You are
but
correct.
they did not have prevailing wage. Okay, but my question was this. If that's something we're gonna do, I feel like we should open that bidding up to the public, not just take one bid.
I agree, because it was just basically 2 walls, and it was going to be some ridiculous.
Well, then they said they were gonna put windows in, and then they said they had to move the ductwork, and then they said they had to tear out some of the carpeting and put new carpeting in, and then they said that it was gonna be then they had to have
And
a
then
closet
they wanted
to
a storage
store
closet for
things
the-
in.
Yeah.
Well, those
And
are,
I think-
those are,
My thing
Those
is,
are things-
go ahead.
I was just wanting to say that those are things that as we get to that point in our strategic plan, we'll begin to look at. And this discussion, that we're having now is one that we will have, when the time comes on our strategic plan.
Yeah.
And none of this will be done without an approval of the board. It's just, these are things our branches have told us, our public have told us they want us to check into. So a lot of that stuff we were told before, we all had questions about it, and we all thought, something just sounds wrong here. And as we look back on it, we may see that there is a way to do it that wasn't approached in the past. And I just think that my opinion of it, and this isn't the time really for me to give my opinion, but I think it's something that we should look into. And that's all the strategic plan says right now, is assess options for an office for the Holden branch. We may assess those options and then later decide yay or nay, So I think we'll you know, I think we'll be, better off when we can once and for all have some reliable, believable information about what options there might be. And I think we were just kind of, I don't know, maybe presented with too many obstacles or too many reasons to justify a really expensive overdue there. I don't know, but that's my opinion. I also would want to say that those of us who school people run, and I don't know, Sandy maybe, have seen a lot of strategic plans. And I think this one is the most clearly laid out strategic plan I have ever seen. And I really like it, and I like the approach that so many people had input into it. So that's all. I'm sorry.
No, I just want to say that I kind of got off track. I realize now that we're just going to approve this overall plan. Then we can get into the details as they come up. So I kind of got off track there myself. All right.
Well,
The
it's
reason
easy
why
to do, Scotty.
I'd just
reason
like to
why
say,
I-
too, I'd like to say it's a good plan. We have to have something to guide us along the way, and we can't just run by the seat of our pants every year. So we need to have a laid out plan, and I think this is fabulous.
I do too.
But the reason why I said Holden only wanted an office is, and this may be crazy because Trails does not own that building.
Right.
I mean, we leased that building. But as Scotty said, there was some money left, and I would really like to see an add-on to the library where there would be a meeting room.
That's what I was gonna say when Scotty had mentioned that. That's probably needed.
That's really what I would like to see.
And that's
you
what I
guys
want that $80,000 preserved for, something big.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
I don't think 80,000
No,
will cover it,
no,
but it'll make a
but
good dent.
it'll go
in
a
it.
long way.
It'll go for something
If-
monumental.
If the city would be willing to sign a very long-term lease with us,
We've got a long-term lease.
then I could see maybe investing in that. But they really need a meeting room.
Yeah.
They could really utilize
Have
it.
you guys seen any of the programs this
Mhm,
summer?
mhm.
Oh my gosh. Like the number.
Oh, well, if you look at year one, goal one, and it says develop a comprehensive facility plan for updates and remodels, you know, that sounds like what we're talking about, that, you know, that might be something for us to look at. Even though it isn't spelled out specifically, we can look at that and say, well, you know, that applies to Holden. That applies to all of the branches, really, as we begin a long-term plan of how we're going to do things. And I agree. I think we need a meeting room, and in those instances where the librarian needs to do evaluations or talk, you know, the meeting room can double as that too, I think. The other thing that I don't know when or where to say this, but I am thrilled with the programming, the way the library looks, the new seating area in there. All of that is just so great, and I appreciate it more than I can say. Kids are really enjoying it.
Thank you, Georgia. I will pass that along.
Thank you.
I think that happens oftentimes when we get new blood in a library, that
Mhm.
see it through different eyes.
Yes, yes, yes.
I make a motion for
Yeah, I'll
the
take a
strategic plan. For the
I
23-20.
second.
Judy Walter moves, Georgia Jarman seconds to approve the strategic plan. Roll call vote.
Ron McMullen,
Yes.
Julie Walter,
Yes.
Carlin Dillon,
Yes.
Patty Long,
Yes.
Sandy Henke,
Yes.
Carmen,
Yes.
Susie Tyler is yes, Scotty Walker.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the lively discussion. Announcement?
I only have one announcement. The Warrensburg roof replacement contract has been signed, finally. We're still going back
Yay.
and forth on a couple of other agreements that we need, to get done. But the start date was listed as today, project start date. So we should be having an initial, meeting before they start that and have a timeline and a little more information. So that one's been a long time coming too.
I know,
I have a question.
Yes.
I believe, since I didn't see the minutes, I did appoint a committee for evaluating Tanya.
Yes. Yes.
Jackie. And has that?
have we met? No.
Okay.
Not yet. I am still trying to gather information for them, and I've got a stack of stuff, so.
Janet was on it, and then I said,
Yeah.
we need to contact Jackie, because,
And then now she's on vacation.
yeah.
And also, I got a email from you listing what the branches wanted as far as hours and whether or not they were going to have book sales or what. And I was listed on the committee to do something, and I had no idea there was a committee or that I was on it.
Oh, the foundation committee. Did I send it to you in error?
No, I'm on foundation meeting board too.
Yeah, but I mean the committee for, the book sales committee for the foundation.
Yes,
Okay, that's what that was for, not for this board.
okay, what is this?
I guess I probably should have clarified that, yeah, just to
Right.
make sure, but yeah, that's
Foundation.
That's the foundation committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other announcements?